Hey people, how are you doing? Welcome to episode 184 of the Sports Therapy Association podcast. My name is Matt Phillips, creator of RunChatLive.com. And as always, this episode is being recorded live on a Tuesday, 8 o'clock on the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel and the Sports Therapy Association Facebook page. And I think actually this particular episode, I am also streaming to the Sports Therapy Association open group. So it's the first Tuesday of the month. And we are therefore bringing you our regular series, Ask Us Anything, in which our STA panel discuss a selection of questions, both emailed in to me, Matt at the STA.co.uk, and also taken from the marvellous sports massage training and support group run by Tracy McClimmon. But first of all, a big thank you to last week's guests. I always start this off. It was a great episode. It really was, and it always is, because that's how we roll in the show. But it was a really good episode, and we thank everybody who joined us live and everyone who's downloaded it. It's still getting downloaded loads. It was physios versus sports therapists. If you're listening to the podcast, then you can't see the image of it on the screen. But if you are interested in seeing what comes up on the screen, then this is recorded on YouTube as well. The name was obviously clickbait. You have to do that. You have to do a little bit of that to get people to download stuff these days. And what we had was a panel of physios and sports therapists from the MSK Hub, which is a great Facebook group on Facebook, funnily enough. And we just talked it through, some of the arguments, normally down to misinformation or lack of information, about what physios do, what sports therapists do, a little bit of pride, a little bit of fear, all the sort of things which cause miscommunication. And it's a great eye-opener. The physios on the panel learned some stuff, the sports therapists learned some stuff, and from the feedback we've had, a lot of the listeners learned some stuff. We'll probably touch on it again tonight, because one of the questions we've had emailed in is about that. I'll just leave that as a hook, shall I? Yeah, I won't tell you what the question is. But anyway, if you do want to listen to that, I do recommend you do, because so many sports massage therapists, sports therapists think they're great, but I'm not a physio. And it's always that in the background niggling away. Yeah, I'm good. I'm not a physio. So if you like that, then I would encourage you to listen to this and hear from the physios. Also, if you're an angry sports therapist who think all physios are out to get you, not all of them. Some of them are, rest assured. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean no one's after you, but not all of them are. A lot of them are very nice, and they actually form an important part of multidisciplinary care. And you really should have a physio or a couple of physios in your little circle who you can refer to, who you will get referrals back from, and so on. Okay, so anyway, check it out. It's on all popular podcast apps. And if you want to watch the video, you can see it on YouTube. And also, of course, all of it is put on the website for the STA, which is thesta.co.uk. Right. That's it. So as I say, tonight I'm going to bring up the STA panel. If you listen to this or watch this and you're interested in being on the STA panel in the first Tuesday of the month, then thank you. We'd love to have you up here. You will see that there's absolutely nothing professional about the show, particularly the guests I've got tonight. And you don't have to be nervous. It's going to be fine. And it's just a lovely chance for therapists to answer therapists. The only criteria is that you've got a decent internet connection, obviously, webcam, mic, and you've got a little bit of experience to share. But even then, we'd love to have on the panel somebody who's relatively new, because it's all about just sharing tonight. We're all on a level playing field and just helping each other with our experience, whatever that might be. So just one other thing, if you are listening via the MSK Hub, if you are listening via the open group, you will need to give permission to Facebook for your comments to be out there. Okay, so there is something in the notes. What I'll do is I'll put it up on the screen now as well. I can do that quite easily. I'll put that on there now. And you'll see it. You put it in once, and it basically just gives Facebook or the live software a permission to use your photo when it comes up on there. So you can do that. Right, I've left them down in the dungeons for long enough. What I will do now is bring up the STA panel for tonight's episode, first Tuesday of the month. Ask Us Anything. Trying to bring up in no order whatsoever, showing no favoritism, just picking you from a hat with a blindfold on. There we go. Hey, everybody, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Good.
Don't forget it's a podcast. The case of waving just doesn't kick it on this show. You have to use your voice. Believe it or not, there is one or two wavers there. Thanks for that. So yeah, thanks for coming along. What I am going to do is obviously give you a chance to introduce yourselves, because as we kind of talked about off air, we do get great feedback from this. It's so nice for therapists to hear real life stories and maybe potential solutions to problems which are equally shared. So I really appreciate you coming along and giving up your time and everything which you're happy to share. So thank you very much. So what we'll do, let's give a bit more room on here. Let's just not forget the people who've come to join us live. So Brian Huxley, how you doing? And Ivan Ward is in here as well. If you listen to podcasts, then what happens if you do join us live, then I can bring up your comments and questions onto the screen, like Glenn Murphy. How are you all doing? We're doing great, Glenn. Tim Allardyce, rhymes with paradise, is here as well. Most physios love sports therapists. Thanks, Tim. That's really nice coming from you. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's good to see Tim here as well. So yeah, and other people are coming through as well. Thank you for joining us. It really makes a difference how many people join us live. Right, introducing in no particular order then. I'm just going to ask you to say who you are, what part of the country you're in case any of our listeners want to kind of hook up with you and get some advice. Sound a bit wrong, we'll edit that bit out. Let's have Mark first of all. So Mark, introduce yourself and tell us all a little bit about you.
Hi, I'm Mark Bleasdale. I'm, as Gary referred to in a podcast I was listening to recently, I'm one of the 5% who's left working as a sports massage therapist, coming into my 5th year since first deciding to do it. My background is really around, and I do regard myself as being pretty new to it. I did 30 years in the police service and was looking for something to do towards the end of it. Was interested in run coaching, so I been doing that for 6 or 7 years, and also other sports coaching, including cricket. The sort of the setup that I work with now is that we bought a premises to do something else in, which was sort of hot desking and office rental, but there was space for a therapy room in it, which I've spent a little bit of money on, and I work there now. Probably I've got about 2 days a week work, so I still regard myself as a part-timer, but we've taken over another premises that suffered under COVID, so I've got a couple of other therapists who come and rent the room for a day. That's me.
Fantastic. And what part of the country was it again, Mark?
Sorry, Llandilo, West Wales.
It's easy for you to say. What was it called again? I bet it doesn't begin with a fur. I know it doesn't begin with a fur. It's probably a L, isn't it, or something?
Yeah, it is. It's got a double L at the start.
Of course it has.
It's sort of about 15 miles away from Swansea for people.
Fantastic. That's great. We've got a lot of members down that way, so it's good to know where you're from. Right, thanks, Mark. Thanks for joining us. Treadmill still working well?
Well, no, my treadmill is still broken down. So
I'm sorry to bring it up. Let's not bring the tempo down now. It's quite upbeat.
I'm sorry else
to move on.
Yeah,
we'll go down there. I don't want to open up that can of worms. Right, let's move along. Sarah Clackworthy, how are you, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Thanks for having me on tonight. Sarah Clackworthy, I'm from the southwest in Gloucestershire. I'm a sports massage therapist and have been since 2013, so 11 years. I'm now at level 5. I've always worked privately from home. I've got this lucky for me, this lovely purpose-built therapy room and mini gym that I use with my clients. But I do have a network of sort of physios, osteopaths and chiropractors that I work with and refer to if I need to. My main sort of bread and butter is the running and triathlon community. So I deal with a lot of those. I've done Matt's gait analysis course, just about to complete it actually in March. So I work with a lot of those, but also just the general carpenters, builders, teachers, and anyone else that comes along with some pain or grumble. The way that I've tried to advance myself over the years is by just adding to my sort of professional toolbox with lots of courses, trying to keep myself up to date as much as my spare time allows, and doing things like listening to you guys on a Tuesday night, and just trying to keep myself up with the moving trends in our industry. So yeah, that's me.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. So you working, did you say you converted your own house, is it, or your own premises?
Yes, I'm lucky enough to have a room with a separate entrance, which was very useful in the COVID era. But yes, I basically work from home.
That's great. We'll get that. It just reminded me, actually, you reminded me two things. One, I need to start sorting out the gait analysis course, because that's coming up sooner than I thought. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And better dig those notes out again. And two, we are going to have a whole month dedicated to kind of like panel stuff of dedicated to different topics, which one of them is going to be setting up in your home, the legal aspects of it, whether it's in your garage, in your home, everything which people need to take on board. So we might see you back for then. Then we'll do another one about setting up in a gym, which will be renting stuff. And then we'll do another one about mobile massage. So we're going to do 3 of them, because I think it's so interesting hearing for new therapists or therapists suddenly thinking, well, maybe I should do it from home, because they want to hear from you guys. So hopefully we might even have you back for that. That'd be nice. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on. Right, let's go down to Dan. Hey, Dan, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well.
Hi, Danielle.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I can't believe people still wanted to listen to me. I am a graduate sports therapist with an add-on of sports science biomechanics. I run a clinic down in Sussex near to Gatwick called Body Health Gatwick, which has treatment rooms. It also has a gym space downstairs. I'm really lucky, where I do rehab and S&C and now gait analysis. Plug in there. Gotta do what you gotta do. I've been going since 2012, something like that. I predominantly used to work in football, and now I have moved more into athletics, specifically similar to Sarah. Runners, triathletes is my main kind of demographic, but I work with loads of different sports in my unit, to be fair. But yeah, probably more the runners and triathletes as a main group.
Excellent. And you did a thing recently, didn't you?
I did a thing. I went. I went to a sixth form college to go and plug sports therapy. And just to say how wonderful it is, and hopefully inspire the next generation if they want to go into that, or physio or something similar. It was really cool. It was a little bit terrifying being back at a school hall, but they were very forgiving, very nice, and really, really lucky that they were quite engaging and asking questions. So that was quite a relief, because mass public speaking is not necessarily my first calling. So yeah, it was really good.
That was
really
great. I was really happy to see it. It was a great post, and you looked really happy with yourself, which is great. And hopefully coming on to something like this, I don't know, did doing something like this help a little bit with the idea of, people are interested in what I want to say, or did it help you up there?
Just say no.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes. Yes, obviously yes.
Thank you. I like to think a little bit of the confidence helps, because to a lot of people they'd hate to do this.
No, I really enjoy what I do, and I genuinely am really, really passionate. So I will speak to literally anyone who will give me 5 minutes of their day, and I'm a big believer as well of if you can give back a little bit, because it all works in cycles. I never had anything like that when I was at school, so if I can speak to someone and get one sports therapist out of them, then they're wonderful.
Excellent. That's really cool. That sounds really good. Right, moving onwards. Thanks for joining us, Dan. Over to Penny.
Hi, everyone. So I've come from an education background. I was a teacher for, don't want to say how long for, 2 decades, and decided I needed to change. So I started doing a little bit of anatomy and physiology and pathology, complete different language for me. And been doing sports massage therapy since 2018, full time, completely left education and never looked back. I also did the Matt's course.
I just realised I'm looking
We
thinking
got
it's just a plug for me. Yeah, you did a course. That's fine. Yeah, good.
So the running course was amazing. You're doing the right thing, Sarah. I think Danielle was on my course.
Stop talking about the course.
I'm quite sure. Sorry, Matt. Yeah. It's just brilliant. And massage therapy now at level 5. So I'm basically a soft tissue therapist. I don't quite understand the difference in the terms. Doesn't really matter. So just helping people with sport and.
Are you in a clinic or at home? How do you
I am working from home. Yes. Okay. I started straight away from home, just treating people, and it's been great. It's absolutely great.
Amazing. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Penny.
Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
An absolute pleasure. And last but not least, we've got Gary, who, if people don't know, is the founder of the Sports Therapy Association. Hey, Gary, how are you doing?
Hi, Matt. I'm the only one here who's not been invited onto your course, it seems. But I have supported Run Chat Live since it started, so it's all good.
Well, no, I did the course up in Lincoln about 25 years ago or something, so you did. It hasn't changed, mate.
I was trying to make you feel bad, Matt. It obviously didn't work.
No.
I just want to say happy birthday for last week to Tim, who's in the audience. I think he was 30 last week.
Happy birthday, Tim.
So happy birthday, Tim. Yeah, all fine at this end, Matt. Very busy talking to members. I'm going to be out of office after tonight until Friday, late on Friday. And Jake's working remotely, but we are still dealing with everything, emails, Facebook messages, etc.
Amazing. Right. Thanks, Gary. Okay. So I think it's nice. I think it's important when we do get to the questions for people to have a little idea of where you're from. So you've got somebody who's started off and built their brand and has now made it multidisciplinary. You've got gay and NAS and stuff going on. We've got a few people who are at home. We've got people who started later in life. And it's nice because obviously all of that is going to give you different experiences and information to share. So hopefully there's someone on our panel who reflects what the listeners are doing, you, the listener, are doing. So I'm going to bring up the questions. I'm going to bring them on the screen for the people who've joined us live as well, so you can see them. And then I'll also read out the whole thing. Some of them are anonymous. Some of them, if I do read out the name, it's because the person's given me permission to use the name. I'm also very excited. We got a which logo do you prefer later today for the first time on the show. So we're going to analyze a couple of logos. Gary is just going to be salivating at that. He loves his logos and business cards. And you're like, yeah, brilliant. So that's me coming up. Right. So, but I'm going to do them in order. So I'm going to bring up some questions now onto the screen so people join us live can see this going on. So the first question, the shortened version, which you can see on the screen now, is training for a massage therapist, sports therapist or physio. So it kind of ties in with last week's episode, physio versus sports therapist. The whole question was as follows. Gang, you ready? Can I have people's opinion on further education after being a massage therapist? I want to decide on training to become a sports therapist or a physio. And that was from somebody at the Sports Massage Training and Support Group. Common question. Anybody ever put that question to themselves or acted on it?
It's a question that I get asked fairly regularly, Matt. I've worked in further education and higher education. And what I say to people is, if you're coming from a vocational background and you want to enroll onto an academic program, the academic establishment will probably want you to be able to evidence that you are returning to learning, or you've got a certain amount of skills or the dedication required to complete the degree. So I would say look at the competencies for a sports therapy and a physio before you decide, because physio is not the guarantee of employment it once used to be. It's no longer a funded degree that was bursaried by the NHS. So you're going to be paying student fees wherever. And I think I saw this one on one of the threads, and I did put in there, if a person wants to speak to me, send STA Gary a Facebook DM or Gary at the STA.co.uk, and I'll just have a chat with them.
Mark, Sarah, Penny and Danielle, have you ever thought, I need to be a physio? I've got to be a physio. Have you ever crossed your mind? Or I don't think any of you actually did it.
I've got to be on.
No, sorry. Yeah, so for me, because I went down the degree route, it was common. I would say a good third of my classmates went on and did a MSK in physiotherapy or something else. So I went down the sports science route personally. I kind of fell into it by accident, and I just went with the flow. But yeah, there has definitely been times where I thought, oh, maybe it would be an easier life, etc. But what I have found, like Gary has said, is actually it's not guaranteed employment either way. Like, so it depends where you want to go. Like, and I think you've got to ask your question: what do you want to do, and who do you want to work with? Because, like, do you want to work in a hospital? Well, then of course you should probably go down the physio route. You know, you could do both a bit more outside, but if you want to work with more sporting people, then, you know, sports therapy is definitely more geared towards working with, well, for me, it felt like it was like towards athletic people. So I think the question you've got to always ask yourself is, what is the end goal? And like Gary said, like, research the course and what criteria will you fit in, or would actually the level 4, 5, would that be a better way around life?
That's great,
in my opinion.
Thank you. Mark, what were you going to say?
I was saying I'm still undecided, actually, because I've looked at both options. A little bit longer than in England, the Welsh Government were offering bursaries to train for physiotherapy and podiatry, I think it was, as long as you worked in the NHS the Welsh NHS for 2 years afterwards. I steered away from that, really, because I wasn't actually sure whether that is those committing 5 years to it effectively by the time you've trained. So I'm still in that undecided learning phase, and just sort of, very similar to what Danielle says, is what qualifications do you need to get the work that you want out of doing this? So at the moment, to a certain degree, spending a lot of time studying, getting quite detailed qualifications isn't something that I personally need. I am tending to try and pick up bits of CPD here and there, and actually sort of sit on my hands before making the decision in which direction to go with a bit more detail.
Excellent. So you're still tempted by the idea of doing physiotherapy, are you?
Yeah, I am, because I can see the wider remit that they've got, but my real interest historically has been around sports and rehab, and and just dealing with that, the results of playing sport. But I do realise that for physiotherapy is going to provide a lot more than that. Also, at the back of my mind is my age, which is a big factor, because I'm 55 now, and realistically I want to work for 10, 12 years probably. So does it need the investment of 3 years of study to provide those remaining 8 or 9 years worth of work? So that's probably why I'd be steering away from it, or I haven't made that jump.
So when you see you're tempted by the extra from physiotherapy, you like the idea of working outside of sport and working in hospitals in the different wards? Yeah. Because some people forget that,
family
don't they?
link there, because lots of my members of my family have worked in hospitals, so doing different things.
I think that's such an important point, which sometimes we presume people know, but when we say physiotherapy and sports therapy, we really are comparing two pretty different things. And as Gemma was explaining from the MSK Hub, who's a physio herself and has championed multidisciplinary care a lot, physiotherapists will do far less sports-related MSK on the course than a sports scientist or sports therapist will, because they're learning all about the other wards and places in a hospital. They're learning all about the neuro and working with children and working in all the other departments, respiratory and everything. So it's really very different. So like Dan said, you have to think, what do I want to do? Do I want to work in different wards and be away from sport, or do I just want to work with sports people? So two totally different careers, which I think sometimes people get confused with. And they set physiotherapy as like, well, that's the best. Can I do that? I need to get that. When really it's like, it's not what you're really after. So Penny and Sarah, it's a good topic. Have you ever had doubts?
Recently, I went on and Googled, can I get a master's in physiotherapy or something? Because I have so many qualifications in my background. I want to do another 3 or 4 or 5 years in education again. Again, like Mark, it's the age thing. How much can you invest? I think that just reading at the question, again, it's not quite, I don't quite know this person actually. So, so it's, does she mean like I want to do something because sports massage therapy is not giving me any, pleasure at the moment. I want to do something completely different? Or is the question about what's the next step after being a sports massage therapist so I can better myself? And then physios and sports therapists are completely different modalities, but they have overlapping qualities, don't they? Including sports massage therapy. So I agree with Daniela on the question. They have to ask the question, what is it that I want to be doing? Which types of people do I want to be helping? What's my target, employment idea in a way because it's all a title. If it's just about the title, there's no point. It all depends on why this question, and that's what I don't understand.
I think what happens when we have people come into this industry, and we've done a podcast in October about the changing face of qualifications and how much the qualifications have changed in the last 20 years. And I think what happens is, because of the limited scope of practice that now comes with the level 3 course of just administering or applying massage in a sport and activity context in pre, post and intra-event and maintenance massage, I think a lot of people might feel a little bit restricted. And I know from experience that 18 months into my journey as a sports and remedial massage therapist, I wanted to know more. And I think that's a natural point where you've worked with different clients, different body types, different relationships with your clients. Then you think, okay, I'm either not getting the results that I was promised from my educator, so I want to know more. And I think the question in general is, where do I go next? What are my options, rather than specifically highlighting I want to be a sports therapist or a physio.
Great points. People listening live, if you want to share your own experiences, or if you want to ask a follow-up question, feel free to do so. Brian Huxley, for example, has said, the bottom line is, if you want to work in the NHS, the traditional physiotherapy is the route to follow, especially if you're more interested in respiratory or cardiac rehabilitation. I think that's a key point, isn't it? And then Rachel Francis Thompson, good to see you, Rachel, has commented, there are often inaccurate perceptions about what physiotherapy is. I get a huge volume of learners who say they want to be a physio, but can't afford or bear the thought of 3 years studying. It's true. Yeah, it's getting more informed, isn't it? Which is the point of these things, isn't it? It's the point of belonging to a professional association who's going to give you unbiased advice and support and put you in contact with people who can help you. It's asking around and getting a bit more information before you rush into something just because someone else is doing it and you've got a bit of FOMO. Good points, Rachel. Thank you very much.
Can I just say, Matt, I think there's plenty of time to explore many different areas of our business before you take the jump. There's endless courses where you can dip your toe in, find out areas that you really like, bring some variation into your own clinic. You don't have to just take a plunge and make a decision one way or the other. I couldn't go back to university for 3 years, for example. So I just try and choose courses that sort of cherry pick physiotherapy, areas of physiotherapy that I can bring into my clinic and offer to my clients. So it's not always about taking those really big steps. You can do it bit by bit and still be really satisfied with the product that you're offering.
Great points. Good points.
Right,
I'm going to move on. We're going to move on to the next question. Sorry, we're going to have to move on because we've got 5.
It's all right. Let's move on.
No, now I feel bad. Penny, what are you going to say?
No, I just want to say that
it's
basically what kind of treatment you want to offer to people, because there are differences between the modalities. But I think, we all struggle with the title of our profession, and we feel inadequate, and we have the imposter syndrome going around all the time. But ask your clients, see what your clients want. What do they need?
Matt, just before you move on, I think it's important to remember that, if we are a frustrated therapist and we're not getting the results that we expected in 3 to 5 sessions, we are a signposting. This whole podcast comes about, we're a signposting service for people. It's not about the commercially driven activities of the industry to get you to do more courses. It's about you identifying within your client sort of demographic, how you will become better at treating them or dealing with them. And remember, people are not motivated to buy services, they're investing in outcomes. So anybody who doesn't understand that, you're an STA member, just book a call with me and I can explain that, or join us on one of our coffee evening chats, because that's discussed regularly.
Great. Yeah, good points. Right, we've got 5 questions, so we're going to move on to the next one. I will make sure on the show notes that there's other podcast episodes connected to these questions, which you can look at and listen to, depending if you go to the podcast app of your choice or YouTube. Right, next question. Here we go. So this was rebranding / renaming my business. Which logo? The full question was sent in by 𝐻𝐼𝐫𝐾, who's given kind permission for us to have a look at the logo she is considering. This was again a question in the Sports Massage Training Support Group. And Lynn says, I've been qualified in training for 4 years and considering renaming my business. My business is going really well, growing day by day, but I just don't think I like the name anymore or the logo I have. Torn between what to do. The first photo is what I have. The second is what I'm thinking of changing to. So get your thinking caps on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share on the screen. If you listen to the podcast, then you're going to kind of lose out here. I would suggest you go along to YouTube, because you're just going to hear scratching of heads and comments on something you can't see. But we'll try and describe it. And as we're giving our reasons, maybe describe what's on the screen and what you like or don't like. So I'm going to bring these up onto the screen. Now I'll bring up the original logo, which is what Lynn has got first. I'll put it on full screen, but we can still hear you speaking behind it. Put that there. Okay, so this is the original one. If you listen to the podcast, then how would I describe it? We've got a picture of a blue runner. We've got Lynn Armitage, big name underneath, Sports Massage underneath, long phone number underneath that. And then we've got a lovely alliteration at the bottom: relieve, restore, revive. Okay, so we've got quite a lot of information on there. That's panel. You can see that okay? Yeah, cool. Right, this is what Lynn has come up with, and she's thinking about changing it to, or she's open for fresh ideas. So interested to hear your feedback. There we go. So for podcast listeners, still got the blue runner, which looks like runners are kind of Lynn's bread and butter. But now we've got a handwritten kind of signature, which says Lynn Armitage. And then underneath in very small letters, we got Sports Massage. Phone numbers come off, and we've got rid of that. Relieve, restore, revive. So what do you think, people?
It looks wicked.
It's really good.
I found with rebranding is think about where it's going to go. So if you want to print it on a t-shirt, are you going to be able to embroider it, or will you have to vinyl stick it on?
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So keep it as simple as possible, because so minimal colors, as in like only choose like 3 colors max, because sometimes you get charged more colors. And obviously if you want to, like, so I've got mine embroidered on my shirt. So and that was one of the key things. It had to be simple, but this looks awesome. I love that she's taken her number off. She doesn't need it. It looks cool.
Okay, so that's interesting. I love the color recommendations in that, and taking the number off because it doesn't need to be on there. If they want to get in contact with you, they can just go to Google your name, can't they, or something, I guess. Yeah. What were you going to say, Penny?
Yeah. I was going to say I would expect the first one to be in a business card. Okay. I don't see that as a logo.
Okay.
But the second one is really cool, and I can see that on a t-shirt. But I don't know whether that's a good point. By the embroidery, I think the font might be a little bit hard to work.
Signature thing, yeah.
But it's beautiful, yeah. It's really nice. But my question is, why this need now to change the logo?
I think she was just bored with it. She doesn't like the name. Yeah. She said she had having it for 4 years. She's been training with it for 4 years and just wants to freshen it up. Maybe if somebody said, no, don't do it, keep it, that might be an argument as well.
One thing is very important is to have what you do on your logo. So that's very clear. Sports massage. That's all it needs there.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
I'm not going to say anything. I want to hear from you guys.
I think if you look at the font of the new one, it's not as readable from a distance. And so if she's standing around at a trade fair or something, and people are looking for her and she wants to be recognised, they might find that a little more difficult to read than the clearer print next on the first one. I mean, all these changes cost money, don't they? So she would have to change. You'd have to change your logo on every piece of promo material, be it flags or t-shirts, etc. All the paperwork. So you've got that cost. You've got the cost of. Sorry.
Yeah, you got to weigh that up, haven't you? It's a very good point.
Yeah.
Is it worth the finance it's going to cost you? Yeah, it's a good point.
Might be a website redesign required. They're quite costly as well. If you've got something that is clear in the first place, is there a need for a change? I like the second one. It's a lot more modern. It seems to have been updated. And if she's already known, her clients and people in the local area will recognise, that's Lynn. She's changed her logo. That looks great.
Yeah.
We like that, because I've seen that happen around here too, and still recognisable. It's just they've updated, so that brings with it a sense of she's moving with the times, and she's keeping an eye on the markets, etc. So that's good for her promo.
Good points. I like that. So people who already know her will still recognize it through the runner, through the colors are very similar still. There's still got that kind of like purple color and the runner. Cool. Mark, what are you thinking?
I was just thinking that is the runner really the logo because that's her client base, and whether that might just be restricting things a little bit. I don't really know what the answer is, but bearing in mind, I think we've all said we don't have a sort of a single population client base. That there's perhaps an opportunity to put something else there.
Yeah,
but I can't think of what that would be at the moment.
But
if her client base is all runners and that's intended for fun runs and things like that to display, then that works pretty well.
I remember Gary Benson about 15 years ago saying, you need a different business card for the different places you go into, because if you're trying to get your golfers to come to you.
Matt, I haven't changed my tune. What I would say is that the first
it's a squash racket.
The first one makes more of a connection with the Relieve, Restore, Revive. The second one I don't think makes a connection, but I don't think having your name on it, having your title on it, I don't think that's important. I think you need to do something that makes a connection with your demographic. So if I was Lynn and I was having a lot of runners, I would have a different tagline for runners. Are you failing your PB regularly? Question mark with a picture of a run. If I was trying to appeal to golfers, I would have, do you want to hit the ball 25 yards further? So everybody, if Lynn's been, at this for 4 years now, the majority of the people in her local area will know she wants to, I expect, expand to different networks. And you've got to make that connection with and understand the outcome that the individual wants, whether they're a golfer, a high jumper who's knocking the bar off regularly, a long jumper who's not reaching the sandpit, whatever. You've got to make that connection.
Great points. Rachel here has raised a point which kind of makes sense to me as well. It said, could one be a business card and the other be the clothing logo? Because it depends where it's going to be, isn't it? Because I can't remember who it was, but somebody said if you've got a t-shirt on and you've got that signature and the runner, no one's going to see who you are. If they don't know you, it could be a dancer or something. You're not really straight away going to know what that person's selling if it's on a t-shirt at an event or therapy expo. So maybe it depends where you're going. From
a perspective of a designer, right? If I were to play with the designing of this logo, the new one I'm talking about, the runner would be smaller and the sports massage would be bigger, so it kind of like shows what she's doing. This is what I want to do. I want to do sports massage. And I had the same question as Mark did with, is it the target market? Is it runners? Is she working with runners? Because imagine if that was a golfer on that picture or a basketball player, it would change completely.
Good point.
Yeah, I purposely moved away from a runner when I rebranded because everyone's got a runner on their logo. Who's a sports therapist or a physio, like local to me. I just wanted to do something different. I totally agree. Sports massage needs to be bigger. Because something that I went to one of the expos and I can't remember who it was, but they did say logos are great, but they are not the be all and end all, because unless you're something like Tesco's, which is very recognizable, it doesn't matter. It's something that's nice and represents you, and it's nice to header things and it looks pretty, but is it going to go national? Like really, like don't overthink it. Do what you enjoy and what's simple. Keep it simple is my biggest thing that I learned.
That's good advice. I like it. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts, people. Brilliant. We're going to move on to the next one. Lynn, just to thank you for letting us share that. I will give you a link to this as you asked to listen to what our panel have said.
There's a question in the question map from Facebook user. How does the panel keep things fresh in their own clinics?
Right, keep things fresh. What's that? What kind of comfort, isn't it? Or what do you use? Oh, I see what they mean now. Sorry, yes. Yeah, how do you keep things fresh in your clinics? Yeah, I suppose they mean like in terms of like, I don't know.
Well, I suppose
something new, something. Oh, guess what we got special today?
The natural thing, Matt, is to want to add a service to your portfolio, your skill set. But I don't personally think that's the answer, and I don't think we have to keep things fresh. I think if you've got something that's working well, stick with it, go with it, because people are coming to see you. If you've got a full diary, nothing needs to change, apart from occasionally, redecorating and things like that, and having a new T-shirt.
I'm glad you said that, Gary, because I was getting a bit nervous then, because I was thinking I haven't changed anything for a very long time. But I'm lucky that I have people coming in every day. I have a full diary every week. So I did change my logo in the last 4 years. Just went for a more up-to-date, brighter colours. So that's another thing that Lynn could think of, is to add a bit of colour to hers, maybe. But yes, in terms of keeping things fresh, it's going away and learning new things that I can then offer people in clinic, especially your regulars who come in and say, well, you feel comfortable enough to say, do you want to try this today? Because I think this would work really well for you. I've learned it recently, and pass it on to your regulars.
It's an interesting question, isn't it? Like, why do you think, I don't know, Facebook user, if you do want to bring your logo up, and your name, the reason why it says Facebook users, you just got to click that link that I shared earlier on, just to give Facebook permission to show it, or you can stay as Facebook user. But I'm just wondering, what do you think? Because like Gary said, sometimes it can be a slippery path. You're thinking, right, I need to do something new, I need to change things around, because it's not that kind of industry, is it? Sometimes change is unnecessary and you spend money, and really you should be looking more at just kind of making sure that the client experience is tuned perfectly from beginning to end, and looking maybe a bit more operations rather than just whether it's fresh in clinic or not.
I'm not sure if it answers the question, but aside of what you're offering, I mean, I'm spending money on a website being developed at the moment, which will link to a booking system. So the customer experience beforehand and afterwards will be a bit different.
Yeah, good point.
But it's not significant around the service being provided.
I think posters and things are good. That's things you can move around. And again, who was it? It was Andrew Macaulay who was talking. I mean, we've talked before about how the nocebo effect of having stuff on your walls which can freak out clients, like the classic kind of old thing of like a knee joint with a meniscus taken out on the shelf, and the person with knee pain is looking at it going, oh my God, my knee's starting to hurt now. Is that what I got there? This big red blob, the kind of nocebo stuff. But Andrew in the episode was talking about how we can actually get the other side. We can get them bolstered up and feeling good and ready for behavior change with some kind of, not too in your face, but some motivational stuff on the walls, which gets people thinking, I am empowered. I can do this. Things are going to be okay. That sort of stuff. So maybe that can be something which could kind of freshen up the clinic a little bit, just thinking, should we change the messages people see when they come in? I did like that thing from Andrew, because you are affecting that contextual effect is happening from the moment they step through your door and look around. The plants, the life, everything they see is going to, change their happiness to change and listen to you. So maybe that's one way Facebook user.
I've got blackboards and I write things on it, like motivational quotes on it, and every month they know they will change. So they come back every month and go, okay, what you've written down now, Penny. So They find
nice.
that exciting.
That's a nice idea. We had that by the gate, by the
do.
treadmill. Yeah, always just chalking something up there, and people did say, "Oh, what have you got on your board today?" Then, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah,
it's good. Fine, there you go. Thanks, Facebook user. Thanks for the question. I hope that gives you an idea. Right, let's bring up a question from here. What do we got? We're going to move on to, I'm interested to see, this came in as well. The short version: nutrition alongside my sports massage, best place to study. So this was a question which I like, because I think it's a healthy question, because if you do want to help your clients, it's quite forward thinking to think, right, I can make them feel better with massage and this and that, but maybe it is a nutrition thing. I need to know a little bit about that, when to refer them on. So it is a factor I think people working with others in pain should be aware of. The full question was, I'm thinking of doing nutrition consultations alongside my sports massage. I was just wondering if anyone knows the best place to study this diploma course, please. And that was anonymous. So anybody got into nutrition? Any recommendations?
I'm currently doing Gary Mendoza's course, the Applied Nutrition and Supplementation course, and it's great. It's absolutely fantastic. The only thing we need to be aware of is to what extent do we advise clients on nutrition within our remit, because really, why do we need to do this course? I'm doing it for personal reasons. I want to know more about things because I'm interested in it, but and sometimes my clients do ask me questions, but I do tell them, look, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. There's the basic principles you can follow, but you have to refer on if it's not within your remit. So it depends what type of qualification this person wants to get and how advanced and what for.
I think what's happening here, Matt, is it's another case of wanting another string to my bow, another tool for my toolbox. I think nutrition courses, I'm nutritionally trained anyway, is great for sharing knowledge. You might be able to say, I avoid tomatoes because they've got high histamine content, and it just makes me itch all over. So have you thought about this might be something, or you might be able to suggest a food intolerance testing service or something like that. But giving guidance, it's the regulated profession.
Fantastic.
Yes,
Penny, on Gary's course, sorry, I just want to check with Penny, on Gary's course, do you go into how much, when you've got to stop giving information to the client, or making sure that you are working with?
I haven't got that far yet, Matt, but I am looking forward to that. It's just it's a lot of studying. It's quite a few modules. It's very interesting. It's even a chapter on what's the word, chemicals and stuff like that, which I don't understand because I haven't done chemistry. It's great. It depends on why this person wants to do this study, what for, what is it going to be,
and how are they going to market it as well? Is it
how are they going to do that?
How's it going to be marketed alongside what they're doing already? Is this a completely separate little venture? Will it be standalone? Or are we talking about just giving your client advice during the consultation part of their sports massage?
So a useful way to think about this, Matt, is what I suggest to people is have a think of your last 10 clients. How many of the last 10 clients were your treatment session successful with? And if you've got, if you can get that data and, through feedback or recommendations, let's just say that you were successful with 7 out of the 10, and they've rebooked because they've invested in your service. Of those other 3, how many would benefit from that nutritional guidance, or how many benefit from sticking a needle? If you're doing dry needling or medical acupuncture, how many would benefit from a kinesiology taping course or sticking a cup on them? And that's a useful way to think about it. And Facebook users come back. Well, I'll let you deal with that, Matt. But sometimes it's let the client inform your ongoing study. So if you're dealing with a high proportion of runners, it's appropriate to go and do some run training, some biomechanical understanding courses. But if your client base is perimenopausal, go and do some menopause training. Let them be the judge really and the guide to you being better with that main demographic, because we can't be everything to everybody. And that's why I always say, who is your ideal client?
Excellent.
support
Good
them
advice.
as much as you can.
Yeah.
Danielle, you work a lot with athletes and and you've done sports science, biomechanics yourself. Have you needed to get more involved in nutrition as well, or do you refer people on if you think there's a nutrition deficit there? Or
me personally, not really, but I do know nutritionists who I can send people to. So yeah, the question may come up. Like, I have very minimal knowledge. I'm not a nutritionist is the key line there. But yeah, no, it's all about just having people in your little pool of like around you, so you can like call on them and just refer them on. Yeah, excellent. I don't have anything to add, sorry.
I definitely think it's worth doing these courses to help with, and we've talked about this a lot of times, being able to refer on, recognizing red flags, recognizing disordered eating, which potentially could, go on to eating disorders, and also, yeah, just knowing how to suggest that to your client in the way that they are actually going to seek that help, rather than going, oh yeah, I'll book it, I'll give them a call, thanks very much. So I think it's really useful, particularly, and it doesn't matter whether you're a massage therapist and you're thinking, a lot of people coming to you potentially are going to need that signposting. They could be chasing something, they could have pain which could be directly down to some kind of disordered eating or so. I think it's worth doing it for that. That is a good arsenal to have, recognizing and referring on, because then the people you're referring on to, once they know, wow, this massage therapist from down the road referred this person to me, guess what? When they've got clients coming in with various nutritional problems, they're going to say, what you need is a good massage. You need to take some time out, go down to so-and-so. So could be a good business model as well. Says me, but hey, what do I know? Let's move on to just dismiss myself in 4 seconds. Right, moving on. Booking apps. What is it? 454? No, 2054. That's 854 in our language. Let's go to... No, I'm tired of booking apps. Let's go down to this one. This is an interesting one. Here we go. Hiring additional therapist. Is the subcontracting model effective? What's a fair hourly rate and commission split? So this was a good topic. I appreciate not everyone in the panel is hiring other people, but this question was from somebody in the sports massage and training and support group. And she did give me permission, I'm sure, to say this. I'm just looking for the name. Yes, it was Heather Singleton. And Heather is saying, what are your experiences in hiring an additional therapist? Is the subcontracting model effective? And like I said, what's a fair hourly rate and commission split for the therapist? Have we got anyone here?
I'm happy to start with this one. What I would say, in the first instance, whether you're thinking of going to work for somebody else or in somebody else's clinic, or you're looking to employ somebody else, the first thing you should do is go to the HMRC website and Google the employment status test. By answering a number of questions, and they're fairly general questions, but it will give you an idea of whether your idea means that it will be an employee or an associate, because I know HMRC are getting a bit more strict on this recently, because I've heard of clinics being investigated. So, self-employed or employee, just go to the HMRC website, type in employment status test and do that first, just to clear yourself.
Excellent. Great advice. Dad, do you employ other people?
I'm in the process.
Oh, right. Tell us about it.
It's hard work. It's really hard. A bit of advice that was given to me from a client who was a business person was, when you go down that employment route, like, get someone who's a little bit of you, not everything of you, not 100%, because if they're 100% of you, they'd be doing what you do. And it was personally really good advice, because it stopped me micromanaging, because it's my baby, my clinic. So, I'm very protective of it. So I'm in the process of looking for, if anyone's down in Gatwick, Crawley area, you give me a shout. It'll be self-employed, because they have to get their own clientele base, choose their own hours. I can't fix them to a day and a time, because otherwise I'd be employing them. So there has to be a level of flexibility. So I've got a friend of mine who's who used to work in recruitment actually, so she's really helping me screen some interesting CVs out as well. Think about what's going to add and the type of person as well. I've had staff in the past, some wicked and some challenging, to say the least. And I think the rules are make yourself clear at the beginning. And something I learned a little bit the hard way was, like, when they're staff, although I appreciate they're self-employed, still your thing that they're working under. So make sure you're still the top of the food chain as well. Like, so if you do need to say something, you can. I want to be friends with all my staff, but it can't be the besties. Because if I need to say something, I need to say something.
I was interested in what you said just then. Can I just go back to, you said I mustn't tell them when they're supposed to work, because then you move into a different kind of position. And what's the effect of doing that?
For clarity, Matt, a self-employed person working under Danny's umbrella, if you like, they get their own clients. They set the times at which they want to go in. They set the fee, and they get paid by the client, and then they pay an agreed split, and that should be contracted. Best advice is to get a contract, and then they are officially self-employed. But if Danny was taking the money and saying it's a 65 quid a session, and the self-employed person was working their hours with no responsibility then to get cover if they're ill, for example, then it's a fine line between crossing over between staff and self-employed.
Gary, is there a third model which is what we do, is that we just charge people a rate to use the room? They're still using...
Yeah, absolutely.
So that, I do a half day, full day rate, and that's what. So I'm trying to steer clear of employing people.
It's what we're talking about here is a bit like the McDonald's business model, right? Yeah. They're not in the business of selling burgers; they're in the real estate business. You are not in the selling appointments. You're in the room hire business, and that's fine to do it that way. But I'm not an expert. I just keep up to date with what the HMRC are saying, and it's getting a little bit more tricky than it used to be.
Very interesting. I mean, and the point she makes about what's a fair hourly rate and commission split, I guess the hour rate depends so much on area and other businesses and that sort of stuff. What about commission split, though? Is there kind of like a...
Well, again, it's about negotiation. That if you're going to get somebody, or if I'm going to go in and work somewhere, I went to work in a gym, and they said, well, it's £500 a month rent. I said, I don't want to pay £500 a month rent. I haven't got the client base yet. So why don't we say, if I get between 0 and 10 clients a week, I pay this much. If I get between 10 and 20 clients a week, I pay this much. And have a negotiation, but always have a 3-month and a 6-month review period. Don't always enter into a 12-month contract, just to cover both parties, really, because Danny doesn't want to be stuck with one of those challenging therapists, for a year, if that's what's in the contract, where you have a probationary period or a review period. It just makes things easier for both parties then.
Excellent. Good advice. Has anybody here got experience of working with this system under someone else and it either working or not working? Sarah or Mark or Penny, have you worked for somebody else and kind of had a bad experience?
When I first started, I asked around to find a place to start working instead of doing it at home, but they wanted like a 30% off my hourly rate. And I thought that was a lot, 30%. Because I was just started, I didn't want to charge a lot of money because I was trying to get clients in. So then I just started working from home.
Got you.
When I started, I worked at a flat hourly rate for someone, but I was very part-time. I was 1 evening a week doing that. And that would sometimes be 1 client, or it could be 4 or 5.
I guess with all of this, and I've learned this when I was employed by other people, is get support and talk to someone else. Sometimes people don't know their own value, and they don't think that they should turn around to the person who's saying, "Oh, yeah, I'll take 30%." But this is again the idea of a professional association, and people like Gary who can call up 24 hours, anytime at all. Number will be in the show notes, and he will give you advice. He'll listen to your particular individual circumstances and say things you haven't even considered. So, you know, that's what a professional association is supposed to do, give you that advice, things you wouldn't even think of yourself. So,
and selfishly, I've only ever worked on my own and for myself from home, and you know, I say to myself, I have had a look at some jobs that were going for sports massage therapists within a clinic. And once I hear the figures and how much they're going to take of my hourly rate, and when they want me in, etc., and I think about the whole setup that I've got here already, I think why would I want to change? You know, I can work as hard or as little as I want, take off the time when I need it. It's just incredibly convenient. And as long as you've got some support around you, because that was the biggest thing that led me to a clinic, was to have the support of other therapists around to question and have discussion with, etc. So I've tried to build that out of out of here now. So yeah, I've got the, in my opinion, the best of all the worlds at the moment.
I think one of the services that we provide with our fortnightly coffee evening chats with Scott and the accountability sessions with Alex is that you don't have to feel isolated. If you need to bounce ideas off somebody, come and join us every other Wednesday, 7:30 till 9 p.m. and Mondays 12 to 12:45, I think it is. But that's what we're here for. That's what you pay your very, very low £60 per annum membership fee for, is to get, you know, to be part of a network and a community. That's what we want it to be. The Facebook users come back, Matt. Have you seen that? I think from reading that, I think I'm looking at this person as they might come from Ireland, because they've mentioned sports therapy and neuromuscular injury therapy, and that used to be a qualification in Ireland which has been rebadged. But Facebook users, if you want to discuss things more with me, just send STA Gary a direct message, and I'll try and help you where I can. But yeah, I agree with a lot of your points there about, you know, the forever learning. We should always be looking to develop ourselves, but, you know, my model is let my clients inform me about what they need me to be better at.
Excellent. Good points. Yes, if there's anybody else in the comments section who we haven't had time to read out your thoughts, but thank you for leaving them. I just have to pick and choose depending on the time and that sort of stuff. But we appreciate you all sharing information. And it doesn't have to be the end of the conversation here. This is why I put it onto YouTube in particular. Facebook stuff disappears. But if you want the conversation to continue, go to YouTube and put something in the comments there, because that will appear in Google results, and conversations can go on for far longer. Facebook is probably the worst place in the world to have a conversation, because it just goes within a day. Something else has replaced it. It's never seen again. So YouTube is the place to ask questions. And obviously I'm watching them and I get notifications. So if you've got a question for one of our guests or anybody, then leave it in there and I'll make sure that they get back to you. I'll get back to you on behalf of them. So, right, look at that. It's 9:05. Thank you so much, people. That flew by as always. There was a couple of questions here we didn't get to, but we may well bring them up next time, the first Tuesday of the month. If you're listening to the podcast and you'd like to be on the panel, then if you're an STA member, I do make it for STA members, because this is one of the advantages of being in the STA, one of the many advantages for the low amount of £60 a year. So yeah, if you like the sound of it, it's a great learning experience as well. You realize it's really not that scary, and there's only 3,000 people going to hear your voice once I upload this to a podcast app. So yeah, it's not like you're going to reach that many people. So yeah, if you've got any questions about that, regarding that, then matt@thesta.co.uk. I can give you a little chat about that if you're thinking about coming up to the panel. Next week, we will continue with our specialist guests. I'm pleased to say that next week, I can tell you it's going to be thoracic, lumbar, fascia and lower back pain with a special guest, Claire Boucher. I think it's Boucher. Could be Boucher. I haven't spoken to her face-to-face yet. So let's go for Boucher. Claire Boucher, who's a lecturer of sports therapy and rehabilitation at Canterbury Christ Church University and a PhD researcher at University of Kent. Her PhD was in this very topic, so it's going to be a really interesting thing to discuss. That'll be next Tuesday if you listen to the podcast at 8 o'clock. And you can join us either on the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel or the Facebook page or the Facebook group, whatever works for you. And once again, people who joined us live, thanks as well. It's lovely to see you, and thanks for giving up your time. And of course, thank you once again to Mark Bleasdale. Thank you for joining us, and Sarah Clatworthy and Penny and Danielle Peters. Thank you very much for being in our panel, people. Really appreciate it. Anything to close, Gary?
Just a couple of things, Matt. What we've got coming up in forward plans for the STA team is we are producing some up-to-date resources on regulation, and we hope to develop that into one of these web chat podcasts. In the middle of February, which we're nearly at now, we will be launching in the members area an up-to-date contraindications recognising red flags session. That's going to be recorded with Anna Maria, and she's making that available to the members. And then another thing that I'm asked regularly is about the difference between sole trader and limited company. So I'm producing a resource on that, which will be a PDF, and we will in the members area be inviting an accountant to come along, talk to our members, so we can discuss the pros and cons thereof.
Exciting stuff coming up. Brilliant. Thanks, Gary. Right. So that's it. If, again, like I say, if you listen to the podcast, you fancy joining us live, then next Tuesday, we will be here at 8 o'clock on YouTube or Facebook. But once again, thank you to my panel for joining us for tonight and sharing your time. And hopefully we'll see some of you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thanks, Matt. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.